elder, man who grew old and gray, growing through many, many challenges in his life. But God gave him good health, and therefore he's still with us here today. We thank God for the gift of His Eminence Cardinal John Jewett as the shepherd of his Archdiocese of Nairobi. We thank God for his life, for his care, for his love and dedication to the flock of Christ through all these years. And it's more than 14 years ago that the then Bishop John Jewett was appointed to Nairobi. He was an untiring shepherd who led the Archdiocese of Nairobi to new heights. Let us express our thanks to him by a round of applause. A shepherd. A good shepherd, that is what Nairobi needs. A good shepherd that leads the people of God to those fresh and green pastures that we just sang about. But who is that shepherd of his sheep that God is looking for? When you listen carefully to the words of Jesus, it doesn't seem to be so much about qualities and skills. There is no list of competencies that Jesus mentions. There are no studies, no workshops, no seminaries, no B+ or A-. It is not so much about the things you can boast about your achievements. You know, some of us, they like to present a long list on their CV, trying to show off. From their studies, to their workshops, to their seminars, from every little activity, even if it was only 5 days. They've been walking around like peacocks, showing their beautiful feathers. Look at me, see how intelligent I am, how capable, how skilled. Look at me, look at me. However, the approach of Christ seems to be very different. It's not about look at me, but it's about look at them. It's not about so much about what I have to say, what I have to teach. It's not about my intellectual knowledge, my capacities. It's not even so much about what I say, but much more on how I say. It's not so much even about the words that I utter. It is much more about my inner attitude instead. The sheep, they hear his voice. By the way, did you know that sheep are not only able to recognize your voice, but also your face? The University of Cambridge, inspired in fact by this passage of the Gospel of John of today, did some research and found out that a sheep is very well able to differentiate the different human faces. Sheep, so it seems after all, are more human than we think. And the other way around maybe also. The Good Shepherd is recognized by his sheep. They hear his voice. So in a sense, it is not so much my skills and gifts that determine whether I'm a good shepherd, but it's the judgment of the sheep, the judgment of the people of God. And you can see it immediately when you watch carefully a flock of sheep. When a stranger, a thief or robber enters into the flock, it creates immediately confusion and havoc. The sheep will run away to all sides, away from him, do not want to be around because they do not know the man. The shepherd, on the other hand, just by his pure presence, causes the sheep to be calm, to be ordered, to be relaxed. They recognize the voice of their shepherd, the voice of their father. And maybe you also have that experience in your life. There are people with whom you feel immediately comfortably. You may not even know them, but they have a reassuring presence. They are able to calm you down just by the tune of their voice, or their physical posture, or by the way they look. Others, however, make you feel jittery right from the start. You feel there's something wrong with this man or this woman. As the Gospel says, a stranger they will not follow, but they will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. The Good Shepherd, he creates calm, order, beauty. And the sheep, they want to be around him. They want to be close to him. They will look at him expectantly, listen to him attentively. They listen to each and every word, and they copy each and every move. That is the relationship the sheep have with the Good Shepherd. I beg you, Lord, to be that Good Shepherd to me. Let me listen to every your words. Let me follow in every your footstep. Lord, let me be close to you. The Good Shepherd calls his sheep by his own name. Beautiful, isn't it? God calls you by his name. He knows you. He knows you in and out. So to say, he has a personal interest in you. You are not just one of the many. He cares for you personally. Imagine just for one moment only that you would meet the president and you're in the midst of the crowds and he would come up to you and say, "Hi John, how are you?" Or, "Hey, this is Linda, how are you kids?" Wouldn't you be surprised? Wouldn't you be in awe? And maybe your heart would even beat faster, because the president knows my name, he knows about me. That name that he calls you means that he likes you, he loves you, he knows you by name. God knows you by name. You're not a number. In our human society, we have reduced people many times to numbers. If you go to a government office, your name is basically of no importance. It's about your number. The concentration camps in Nazi Germany in the 40s of last century would tattoo a number in your arm. And you needed to call out your number to be identified. In totalitarian regimes, people are reduced to numbers. Oppressive regimes reduce people to number. Evil identifies by a number, not a name. 666. The Good Shepherd, however, has a personal interest in his people. The Good Shepherd doesn't think in big structures, and his role and his rule is not oppressive. He doesn't surrender, so to say, to the digitalization of the human being. You are not a number for him. You have a name, and he calls you by your name. Calls you by your name. Of course, you could also turn it the other way around. You could ask yourself, whom would you like to know by name? Who is it you would like to be close to? Whom would you like to have a close relationship with? because that will tell you a lot about your priorities in life. And maybe it will even indicate to you whether you're a good shepherd or a thief and a robber. A thief or a robber or a murderer always puts his bets on the following three horses: power, desire, and money. Power, desire, and money. Every crime that is committed on this earth comes down to these three things: power, desire, money. These three horses are a bit like the horses from the book of Revelation. They unleash evil into the world. And that is also why the sheep run away from them. The sheep run away from the thief and the robber. The sheep of the Good Shepherd run away from power, desire, and money. If you yourself maybe are a shepherd, if you are a priest, or religious, or a bishop, or even a politician, by whom do you want to be called by name? To whom do you warm up to? To whom do you feel close? And let's face it, power, money, desire, they have an irresistible attraction. And all of us feel that temptation. None of us is immune for it. It reminds me a bit of Peter, whose letter we read today. Peter, who writes to his Christians, "For to this you have been called, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow into his footsteps." This is the same Peter, the very man who fought the idea that Jesus had to suffer. It was the man who cut the ear of the servant of the high priest. The man who denied Jesus 3 times when they asked him about it. Peter was very much of the idea that Jesus was very much of the idea that religion had to do with power, with control, that religion has to do with being on top of things. Let me repeat this. Peter was of the idea that religion was about power, about control, about being on top of things. Does that ring a bell with you? Are you a bit like Peter? Do you feel comfortable in your position as priest or religious or bishop or, yes, why not, as a nuncio? Do you feel the need that you need to be on top of things? Do you feel that you should be in control? Do you feel that you need to govern with an iron fist? Should you lord it over them? Do you like to put your foot down, impose yourself? I am the boss. I am the parish priest. I am the bishop. And I did this and I did that. And I built this parish and I constructed that school and I opened this clinic. I am. I'm the boss. I am. There's somebody else who calls himself I am. His name is God. You see how through this behavior you put yourself over and against God? You turn yourself into an adversary of God. And the Hebrew word for adversary I will not pronounce here, because he's evil. May his name be blotted out from existence and thrown into the eternal fire. if you are a shepherd, think over it. Are your decisions influenced by power, desire, or money? Save yourself, turn away from your evil ways, you wicked thoughts, and open your ears to the voice of the Good Shepherd, who continues to call you by name. John, James, Kevin, Karen, come to me. He calls you by name so that you would turn away from your evil ways, free you from the shackles of power and desire and money, and become a true follower of Christ. So also Peter was called by name after the resurrection of Christ. And Jesus said to him a third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was distressed that he had said to him a third time, do you love me? And he said to him, Lord,